We have done it. We have reached 10,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for watching and for just subscribing to my channel. That absolutely means so much to me. This was a huge milestone for me, something that I've wanted to achieve for the longest time. And of course, I have all of you to thank for that. And as promised, because of that, we are taking a look at the many interpretations of Tyrannosaurus Rex. As you can probably guess, T.rex probably shows up way more than any other non-avian dinosaur known to man. It is by far the most popular dinosaur, and typically when something wants to have a dinosaur in it, they'll have T.rex. That's just part of the job essentially. So we do certainly have so many to look at, and it's going to be a pretty extensive video. Chances are this will be two parts, and I will be sectioning it off. So like in this part, I will for sure be looking at movies and TV shows, and I will be sectioning them off from each other to make it a little bit more organized and a little bit easier for me to kind of like digest everything as we look at it. And in the next video, we will be looking at documentaries and video games to cap it all off, because otherwise this will just be simply way too long. So, with that in mind, we'll go ahead and get started. First, with movies. T.rex has quite a history in the world of film, showing up in a lot of old classic movies as stop motion or as someone in a suit, or of course in the CGI form as it's later being depicted in most other later movies. But first, we'll go ahead and start off with, of course, all of these classic OG ones, like The Ghost of Slumber Mountain, which has a very cool and iconic look to it. 1925's The Lost World, that is one of the most popular dinosaur movies out there. Kind of started the trend of dinosaur movies, or kind of got the ball rolling with a very cool design right there that is also extremely iconic. Or the 1933 King Kong. These are, of course, all stop motion and are very cool to look back on. I especially love the T-rex from King Kong because it's just so thick and bulky, and it looks so cool. And I might as well talk about Peter Jackson's 2005 King Kong alongside this one, because they did kind of carry that over into it. The 2005 King Kong does a great job of playing homage to the original 1933 film. And I think it was done very well with the V-Rex. Now, of course, in universe, these dinosaurs that show up on the island are like highly evolved from the animals that they kind of once were. So they're kind of just completely different animals entirely. That's why it's called a V-Rex instead of the T-Rex, the Vistanosaurus Rex, or I think. I could be wrong. But I love the way that it looks, and I love the fact that it has that explanation to say that. It's a lot bulkier and just huge in appearance, absolutely covered in osteoderms, and has 3 fingers instead of 2. But I think that these are absolutely great starts to the list. Fantasia. This is a little project that shows up quite a lot in this series because they portray a lot of different dinosaurs. One of the main being the Tyrannosaurus Rex. We get a little cool fight between it and the Stegosaurus. Very much a product of its time, much like the other 3 looks to them. Like, these are decently accurate for T-rex for the time. One notable thing is that the T-rex is portrayed with 3 fingers instead of 2, and I wanted to bring this up because Walt Disney did in fact know that T-rex had 2 fingers. I think Barnum Brown himself, the man who discovered T-rex, I think he did in fact fill him in on that. But Walt believed that 3 fingers would be scarier than 2, and that's how we get 3-fingered T-rex in Fantasia. It also has like what looks like snake fangs. It's pretty cool. It's a really cool time capsule to the past and is a very iconic short in the overall Fantasia movie. So very awesome to see. But so far we have some absolutely awesome designs, and I just love going back and seeing the way our idea of these dinosaurs change over time, especially in the media. Dinosaurus, which is a name, Dinosaurus. Again, it's for its time, the kangaroo stance. Kind of decently bulky, but the arms are breaking and they're a lot longer than what's typical. But I do want to point out that I do really like the cover art. You don't really see art like this too much anymore. And that goes for pretty much almost every single one that we've seen beforehand. The cover art, that hand-drawn art, I think is really cool. Then we kind of move into costume, kind of like how Godzilla was, where it's just someone in a costume portraying this animal, and that is in The Last Dinosaur. So of course the proportions do match up with a human a lot more. It's very upright, very much like a kangaroo. That tail is dragging around. It's also very curly in a lot of this art, or a lot of these images that I'm looking at. You gotta love it. The iconic Land Before Time franchise. Now, T-Rex does show up quite frequently. Most famously in the first film, where it unfortunately takes Littlefoot's mother away from us, in a very cool and visually stunning scene. And later on, Tyrannosaurus does have subsequent appearances with different coloration and things like that. I have seen some lists that state that these are different types of Tyrannosaurids, like Albertosaurus or I think Gorgosaurus and things like that. However, I think that it is possible that they are likely just other Tyrannosaurs. I mean, I know for a fact that Chomper's parents are both Tyrannosaurs, and Chomper himself is a Tyrannosaurus. And they're really cool. They have different colors from one another. It kind of feels like it's some continuity with that one, because the male T-Rex is very green in coloration and is very similar to the T-Rex from the first Land Before Time movie, whereas his mother, the female, is lighter in appearance. So it's kind of like an example of just, you know, differences between male and female in Tyrannosaurus. Very fun to see, and I like that they take the attention, you know, take the time to do that, even though later films I don't think really focus on that. They just want to give it different striking colors. Like this fella. This is a completely gray one. I think his name is Red Claw. He's got a scar running down his eye and all the way down to his claw. Very, very cool. Yeah, no, Land Before Time is one of the most iconic portrayals, if you ask me. We're back, a dinosaur story. This one has two separate designs, basically, for Tyrannosaurus Rex. One that is a little bit more naturalistic and animalistic, I suppose, and then the one that's a lot more anthropomorphized. Both are awesome. I really don't have too much to say. I love seeing animated versions of these animals that are extremely stylized for the project that they're in. But then next we'll get to probably the heaviest part of this little section, and that is the Jurassic franchise. Of course, the first ever time we see T-Rex is in the first ever movie. Rexy is probably the most iconic dinosaur in the franchise, and she looks great in the first film. She's incredibly bulky, the skin looks awesome, she holds her hands correctly for some of the time, sometimes she breaks them, but you know, some of the time she doesn't. And you know, for the most part, the first Jurassic film was decently accurate for the time, and that's pretty much true for the T-Rex. Our idea of it has changed quite significantly since then, but it's really kind of cool how well this holds up for T-Rex nowadays. You know, it's just, I love the Jurassic franchise design of the T-Rex. It's just so iconic. You know, I got the figure right up there. I just think it looks so cool. So that's Rexy. She, of course, appears in the Jurassic World trilogy with some slight design tweaks here and there until you get to Dominion, where she's kind of reverted back to her original design in the first film. And I think that the Dominion look just looks absolutely amazing. I think it's probably my favorite rendition of Rexy herself. I just think that it's just flawless. I wish we got to see a little bit more of her in Dominion, but I love the way that she looks. But of course, there are some variation to T-Rex throughout the rest of the franchise, whether it be different coloration, like in the Camp Cretaceous show, where we get Little Edie and Big Edie, who have different colors from basically the rest of the dinosaurs in the franchise, or in the Lost World Jurassic Park, where we get introduced to two Tyrannosaurs, the buck and the doe. The doe is decently similar to the way that Rexy looked, with the kind of browner coloration and a little bit more dull in color, whereas the buck, they gave it some design flares to differentiate it from the female, such as the more pronounced eyebrow ridges or the greener coloration. It's attention to detail that I absolutely love, and I think that the buck looks awesome. And that's a little continuity thing that was carried over into Jurassic Park 3, where we see the male T-Rex that fought the Spinosaurus also has some green coloration. So that is very cool. There's also, of course, the baby T-Rex, and it's mainly a puppet that's used for a lot of the scenes, and that's just absolutely awe-inspiring to see actors interact with different things like that. That includes the animatronics that were used for the Tyrannosaurs. It's just one of the reasons why I think the original Jurassic Park films are just so untouched. But one of my favorite designs in the Jurassic franchise is the Prologue T-Rex. It's cool. It's very cool. I mean, it kind of like throws that whole idea that these are hybrids out of the water, because this does look exactly like T-Rex from the modern day, and it doesn't look like our current understanding of the T-Rex. I'm talking about the skeletal shape. I mean, because of course they did add some downy feathering, but it is pretty much the same. Anyway, I love this one because of that downy feathering, because feathers are likely on Tyrannosaurus Rex. I won't get into that like too much right now. I'll hint at it a little bit here and there, but that's something I'll probably cover in the next video, where we kind of talk about documentaries and why that's more likely in Tyrannosaurus. But I love it. I think it looks so cool, and I love placing the feathered version in my parks in Jurassic World Evolution. It's my favorite version to place. I think it looks so cool, and I love that they did that. Transformers, Grimlock, of course. He has a very classic design in his first initial cartoon appearance, which looks awesome. You know, it's very stylized, robotic T-Rex. You gotta love it. And then in the 2014 Age of Extinction film, he's completely redesigned, of course, to fit those Michael Bay movies, and he's very gnarly in appearance. He has these huge horns, massive teeth that'll absolutely shred you, and just a lot of different jagged pieces. I think both look really cool in their own way. They're very different from one another and are both different takes on the character of Grimlock. But I think that I think that they're both really cool. You know, in Toy Story, we get our boy Rex, who is a toy T-Rex. I love it. He definitely captures the whole spirit of Tyrannosaurus Rex just in toy form, and is absolutely a toy that a kid would have. So, I mean, I know I did. So, I love Rex, and yeah, he's probably top tier, if you ask me. T-Rex back to the Cretaceous. Still a project that I have yet to watch, but from all of the images that I see of the T-Rex, I really like the way that it looks. It's pretty dated and is kind of Jurassic Park-esque, just a little bit thinner, but I think it looks really good. I think that it kind of captures the look and feel of T-Rex pretty decently, especially with some of these close-up shots. I think that the skull shape looks really good, and it's a little bit thicker in the body, decently anyway, and I think it looks fantastic, and I think that they killed it in that aspect. And now we have probably the most accurate depiction of Tyrannosaurus Rex in any movie and show. I'll give you 2 seconds to guess who it is. Rexy from Night at the Museum. Get it? Because he's a skeleton, and we have Tyrannosaurus fossils, so we... But I do love Rexy. I think it was definitely a fun take on having a T-Rex. I especially love the little cool little thing, how it's kind of like he's a giant puppy, essentially, and then you throw his own rib, and he likes to fetch. Very fun movie. These are definitely movies that I need to return to sometime. I think that they were so fun. I absolutely loved them when I was a kid, and I would love to return to them. I know that they did a show on Disney, but I don't know if that's too good. If you guys think that's good, then be sure to let me know. Yeah. Meet the Robinsons. Now, this is a great example of basically we want to have a dinosaur in our movie. What better dinosaur to have than the most famous one, T-Rex? And that happens a lot, especially with like kids' cartoons and things like that, like with the shows. If they wanted to have a dinosaur, then they will include it via T-Rex. And in Meet the Robinsons, we get introduced to Tiny the T-Rex, and we also get introduced to this joke right here.
Why aren't you seizing the boy?
I remember hearing that joke everywhere, like when the commercials were playing on Disney Channel and whatnot. And I think that this is kind of where the ball started to really roll when it came to T-Rex short arm jokes, because now it's a huge topic, and it led to things like T-Rex had wings that have absolutely no basis and no scientist has ever thought of. It's just stupid. But anyway, Tiny, I think, looks really good. He's, a very brief part of the overall movie, but I think that they nailed his design, especially with this kind of like evil smile, and the massive head and the heavily built body. In terms of stylized Tyrannosaurs, it's probably one of my favorites. I just think it looks really cool. And this is yet another video where I say cool or awesome or whatever way too many times. But for the most part, people do really cool designs on Tyrannosaurus, so that's probably to be expected. Take, for example, Ice Age 3. Mama Rex, I think, looks absolutely awesome. I think that in the Ice Age style, they blended a lot of these dinosaurs really well, even though they're absolutely massive compared to their real-life counterparts. But I love the scenes that she's in, especially that first initial scene that we get introduced to, where she's searching for her babies, of course, and everybody's terrified, and she's just walking through the clearing, and it looks so cool. Or, she does have the best scene in the whole movie, which is this one. I think she was done really well. I really like her colors. I like the kind of osteoderms that they give her, the added bumps, and the personality. I think it looks really good. I also really like her roar. I think that was just very nice sound design right there. Dinosaur Island. I watched this movie a long time ago with my wife, and it's certainly a movie, but their dinosaur designs are certainly interesting and did try to go for more paleontological accuracy, which is really fun. But their Tyrannosaur is absolutely covered in feathers. I know that I said that feathers are likely on T-Rex, but likely not like this. Probably more so downy, like more hair-like feathers. I feel like if it had feathers like this, it would just simply overheat. But that aside, this T-Rex looks really good. Skeletally, it matches up decently well, and I think that the colors are really cool. Reminds me of a certain crime-fighting spider who has his own variant in the later portion of this video. So aside from the heavy feathering, I think that they just did a really good job with this design, even though it's just a small budget movie. You love to see things like that. Hang in there, guys. We're not halfway through the movies and shows yet. Now, The Good Dinosaur. I still plan on making a full review of this movie and where I get to say that I don't think this movie is as bad as many people say. One of my highlights are the cowboy T-Rexes. That's a fun combination. I like the Western. I like Western stuff, if you couldn't tell, and I like dinosaurs. And whoever's idea it was to have Sam Elliott voice a Tyrannosaurus Rex, I just want to hunt them down and give them a big old bear hug, because that is the perfect voice for that type of rough, gruff Tyrannosaurus cowboy character. And just seeing them like run like they're galloping on horses is really cool. And the fact that they're herding these longhorn bison is also very cool. And I like their designs. I like how, they're obviously animated to fit their characteristic. I especially like Butch, Sam Elliott, Tyrannosaur. Even though this, they're part of an instance that gets surprisingly dark for some reason, where he's telling the story of how he got his scar. But I just think that they're very cool and one of my favorite additions to the overall movie. One of the reasons why I really like the overall movie, even though they're just kind of a small portion of the movie. I think that they're cool. Have a cool counter. Just too many cools. Way too many cools. Eventually, some of these designs will be ones that I just can't stand, So there's Land of the Lost. Of course, there's the original series that has, a design that looks a lot more like this, very representative of those old-fashioned dinosaur portrayals. And then there's the movie adaptation of said series, and Grumpy here looks awesome. It looks really good. I mean, you can also call him Bumpy, because it seems that they covered him in osteoderms too. But skeletally, it looks pretty decent. I mean, it's kind of similar to the Jurassic Park T-Rex, and that's something that's true for Land of the Lost in general. They take inspiration from the Jurassic franchise. But I think that he looks absolutely solid and is just such a cool color. Just cool colors, cool texturing, cool sound design. Very fun scene when he jumps across a chasm because Will Ferrell said that he has a small brain. Just really, really great in general. Then the Minions. Not a fan of the Minions. And its design is animated. It's an animated design. He has a massive underbite as well. But I think it certainly fits the style of Despicable Me. Canonically, this is what Tyrannosaurus Rex looks like in the Despicable Me universe. Definitely makes sense. I've seen some of those creatures in that universe. But I like the coloration that was used, and the texturing looks really cool too. Like, I like the skin design. I think it works. Like I said, I don't really watch the Minions, not really the fan of the Minions, but I think it works. Now, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. They're traveling through several different universes, and they briefly come across one where there's a T-Rex fighting Triceratops. Very brief, can barely see it, but it is there. And from what we see of the T-Rex, I think it looks awesome. Like, I kind of wish we got to see a little bit more, but I think that the skull looks awesome. The skin looks really good. The kind of red on its snout with darker accents. I wish that was in more of the movie. I mean, I have a lot of complaints with that movie. Like, I wanted more multiverse shenanigans instead of a quick little, let's pass them. Maybe some time in the dinosaur land would have been fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because I like dinosaurs. Who knows? But if we got to see more of this design, I think I would have been absolutely happy. But then after that, as I kind of alluded to before a little bit, there is Spider-Rex from Across the Spider-Verse. Love this movie in general, and I love seeing little dinosaur cameos. Skeletally, it does seem to be basically just the Jurassic Park T-Rex, but with Spider-Man coloration. I love it. I love seeing a dinosaur as Spider-Man, a T-Rex as Spider-Man, and I know that this is based off of comics, which is Also really cool and also has a very cool design. I mean, look at this Venom Rex. I need to see Venom Rex either animated or in live action. Like, that is something that I absolutely need. We need Venom Rex versus Spider Rex. If we don't have that, what is the point of making these movies? What's the point of having Spider-Verse What is the point of having Spider-Verse movies if we don't do that? That is an absolute necessity, and I will not stand for us not to have Spider-Rex. Or, sorry, Spider-Venom. Both of them fighting. Anyway, I am T.rex. I gotta say, I think we probably found one that I'm not too big of a fan of. This is a recent project, came out last year, 2023, and the proportions just seem a bit odd, especially in the head. It's covered in osteoderms. It's just, I'm not the biggest fan on its overall appearance. I'm sure there's some who like it, but that's it. And another, 65. I was not a fan of the dinosaur designs in this movie in general. It was trying too hard to be as cool and edgy as possible, but then you just get kind of like these gray blobs with a lot of teeth coming out, and it wasn't that great. It's not because it's inaccurate. As I said, some of these designs that I've had, or that I've looked at, are incredibly inaccurate, but this is just not great. Even the skull does not even really match up to Tyrannosaurus Rex's skull too well. And I'm kind of the opinion that, I'm kind of the opinion that I think that we could have kind of had a little bit more leniency of these dinosaur designs. Like, this has definitely taken a lot of influence from the current Jurassic World designs. Very Indominus Rex, very covered in osteoderms and things like that. I think we could have maybe just taken a step back with this movie and said, okay, let's make them a little bit more accurate. You don't have to go with 100% accuracy. You can have some stylized things right here that, like, I have another example later on in this list that does that very well. This project right here. We'll talk about that soon. But you don't have to have it as 100% accurate. Just take a basis of accuracy and then just kind of build from there. And this movie, the dinosaurs, they just looked ugly, or the non-dinosaurs too, because this giant four-legged one, I don't think that I'll ever talk about this guy specifically in many interpretations of video, but this was a real creature known as Facilosuchus, and it blends in so well with like the T-Rex and whatnot. There's no differentiation between them that I think many just believe that this was just a T-Rex that can walk on all fours. And that's the biggest problem. There was no different... I could probably go on and on about this movie. I'm not a fan of the movie. I'm not a fan of the designs. The best part, I thought, was the human aspect, and that's mainly because I think Adam Driver is such a great actor. And in terms of the dinosaurs and the overall setting, I think it was just a failure. And this is a T-Rex video. The T-Rex, I just don't think was great. I just don't think that the T-Rex was handled or designed particularly well. Barney the dinosaur. So now we're on to shows, basically. And Barney is one of those, he's a T-Rex that's been around for a while, right? He's got a very cool appearance. I know a lot of people have redesigned him to look more like an actual T-Rex, which is always fun to see. But we'll see him as the giant kids icon that is the guy in a costume. Got more of a magenta or pinkish purple kind of color with a green belly counter shading going on. And he has given up his carnivorous diet because he has a completely flat molars, but they did give him his 2 digits. That's fun. Nice attention to detail right there. That's Barney the dinosaur. Dinosaur Train, we get a young T-Rex who's basically a human standing straight up, as well as an older one that has more of a horizontal stance. They have Bronco colors, that being red and blue. What did I just say? That being orange and blue. And yeah, no, they're fun. They're very fun. I've said it before. I haven't really watched Dinosaur Train too frequently, but I think that these guys are... certainly. I think they capture T-Rex very well in this style. And as I kind of mentioned before, T-Rex is the dinosaur that they just place in an episode that they want a dinosaur. So there's a lot of cartoons that just kind of have T-Rex for maybe just one episode or just a brief appearance. And I'll go ahead and go through those, and I don't really have too much to say about them other than the fact that I just love stylized designs. I love seeing cartoon designs of these dinosaurs. So just keep that in mind while I'm going through these. Like in Teen Titans, Beast Boy, of course, gets to change into a T-Rex. I will say that I prefer his T-Rex look in the original Teen Titans over Teen Titans Go, but that's probably par for the course. Or in Phineas and Ferb, Very fun episode. I love Phineas and Ferb, man. That was a great show. The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. Goofy T-Rex. What more can be said about that subject? DuckTales has a few different iterations of Tyrannosaurus Rex. All look really awesome in their stylized look. Tom and Jerry. T-Rex in Tom and Jerry style. Very awesome. Gravity Falls, one that's kind of encased in amber, which is very cool looking. Like, look how cool this animation is. It looks awesome. Johnny Test has one that kind of has fuzzy eyebrows. Very fun. Dexter's Laboratory, one that is very funny, cute. Not in this image, though. Jimmy Neutron, we get the CGI T-Rex. Kind of looks like it's inspired from Jurassic Park, but has very huge lacrimal horns. Fairly Odd Parents, quick little episode where we T-Rex versus Triceratops. The Flintstones is very famous for their dinosaur portrayals, and we get T-Rex right here. Very long arms and more fingers, but yeah. Family Guy has a few different iterations of T-Rex, but my favorite is the one that Peter can turn into in that episode where they get superpowers. The Simpsons also has a few different looks to the T-Rex. One in particular that's really fun is kind of like Bart with T-Rex-ness. The Magic School Bus, of course, would encounter a T-Rex. We get one with a very, very fun design right here. Really like the green colors. And Primeval offers a few different Tyrannosaur designs for us to look at. Of course, there's Fang. Absolutely love her design. I love the blue coloration with these kind of stripes and that massive fang that gives her name of Fang. Or there's the what's described as like Alpha Tyrannosaurus that has massive horns on their nose. At first, when I saw that episode, I thought they were just like really big ceratosaurs. But no, apparently they're Tyrannosaurs. So that's really cool, and they all have a very intense presence. Of course, later, Fang also encounters another male Tyrannosaurus who has a red head and a gray body. And they all look really great. I love the show in general, and I think that all of its stylized depictions of these animals look really good. Or Tina from The Amazing World of Gumball. She has two designs, my wife pointed out, something that I kind of completely missed. There's this one that is a little bit softer in appearance and certainly it has a lot more character to it. And then there's this one that is a little bit more like a T-Rex. You know, two different iterations of Tina. I would say that I think I like the one where she has a softer appearance better because there's more character out of that. That one did happen in season 1, and the more realistic T-Rex looking one happens in season 2. And I think that she's not nearly as much of a character in season 2 as she was, or in later seasons as she was in season 1. So that's probably why her facial expressions and whatnot changed. But I do like her I do like her season 1 look the most, I think. Probably because I remember most from season 1. I didn't get to watch Gumball too much. Then Power Rangers has quite a few Tyrannosaurs to look at, all in their Zords. They all look great. Like, they all have the basic idea, like the same basic idea where it's a giant red Tyrannosaurus, and they all look fantastic. Whether it be from Dino Thunder or Dino Charge or the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or the recent 2017 film, I think that they all look really great and they're all very different. But my favorite is definitely Dino Thunder, and that comes from rose-tinted glasses because I watched Dino Thunder so much when I was a kid, and its T-Rex just looks so cool. I had the toy of it too, and it has a horizontal stance and the gray accents, and the red is really striking, and the gold, I just think it looks so cool. Also in Dino Thunder, we get this CGI T-Rex right here. It's a giant robot. Might as well point that out too. Dinosaur King has kind of a couple different iterations of T-Rex. In the very first episode, there's a giant arena filled with different colored Tyrannosaurs. The one that we focus on the most is, of course, Terry the Tyrannosaurus. He's a main character T-Rex, so we get his younger version, which doesn't happen too frequently with most other dinosaurs. He looks fantastic. The overall skeleton shape looks great. The colors are awesome with the red and the yellow highlights. He looks flat out fantastic, and it's great that he's got more of a pronounced role in this overall show. We're just coming across a lot of nostalgic projects with this list. Very long list too. We're almost done, guys. Just hang in there. Dino Dan and Dino Dana kind of have a few different iterations of T-Rex. One that's a little bit more basically inspired from Jurassic Park. You can tell by the way that it looks. But this one right here from the Dino movie is probably my favorite. I think it matches up to T-Rex so well, and the sparse feathering I think is a really nice touch. These shows do a really good job at portraying their animals, and the fact that they were kind of updating their designs as they went is also really cool and kind of like a nice attention to detail. But the Dino one is definitely my favorite out of those. Dino Squad. I watched this show briefly when I was younger. It's basically teens that turn into dinosaurs. We talked about the show briefly for the many interpretations of Spinosaurus. I think the second video, and the T-Rex looks great. It's got green with kind of some reddish brown spots. Looks fantastic. No notes really. I think it looks great. Rick and Morty has a whole episode dedicated to dinosaurs returning after they left through the stars. Their T-Rex, I think, looks very cool. I don't know. It's extremely stylized, and she's got kind of that Jurassic Park-ness, I guess. But I kind of like, I don't know if these were intended to be like feathers on her head, but I like that added little flair. I think that was a really cool touch to the design, and I think that it really helps her stand out. So I like the Rick and Morty one. Dinotopia, the original series, does have some instances of Tyrannosaurus, a design that is very, very stylized for that show. But the one that I remember the most is from the Dinotopia animated movie, because that's the one that I watched the most. That T-Rex looks really cool. His blue coloration, he's animated in such a way that is awesome. And T-Rex versus giant mechanical scorpion. That is a very cool thought, and it's a thought that we should all have within our heads. We can't forget that. Primeval, this show certainly goes for a lot cooler designs. Their T-Rex design does look very cool. I can see some influence taken from Jurassic Park, but with just kind of thicker skin and a more ragged appearance in the mouth. But the colors are absolutely awesome. Like, you get some hints of blue and the lighter gray colors. I think it looks really... So it's probably one of the most iconic ones, I'd say, even though a lot of these, at least in terms of colors, a lot of the designs do kind of blend together. But I think that one looks really good. I like the way it looks. Or Gigantosaurus, this T-Rex, he looks like he's a heartbreaker. He's got a little bit of an underbite and a very cool coloration, I think, and as well as like some spikes going down the middle of his skull all the way down to his back. Very fun, very stylized, really like it. Kong the Animated Series has an awesome looking one. Extremely huge looking green coloration. I especially like the kind of extra tiny spikes on its eyebrow ridge right here. I think that looks really cool. And just really another example of an animated one that I think looks really good. I'm also saying really good a lot, but a lot of these do look really good. Then, of course, I do need to mention Dead Sound's Dinosauria series. The final episode does depict Tyrannosaurus Rex and depicts it very well. Absolutely thick, portrayed with lips, which I think is always awesome. The colors look awesome, and skeletally it matches up extremely well. As usual, I recommend watching I recommend watching the short as well, all of the shorts really, as well as the behind the scenes things, because there's a lot of really cool information to gauge from that. You might even learn something about some dinosaurs, which is always a plus in my book. Definitely go and check out Dinosauria. I will always recommend that. And then finally, the name that I will most definitely butcher, Kyoryu. This little series is going to be depicting a post-apocalyptic Japan with Tyrannosaurus Rex basically being at the center. We get an adult with a young one, and these designs are incredible. I kind of alluded to the fact that this is a great example of taking accuracy as your basis and then building off of that, because these guys are extremely accurate. Their overall build and their shape matches up very well to what T-Rex looked like, both with the old and the young one. But they've just added onto it by giving them natural armor, essentially. They get this samurai armor that just is stylized. It has that accurate basis, but it's extremely stylized. I love it. It's amazing. I'm so excited to see this when it eventually does come out, and I probably will be talking about it when it does, because I just think that it looks so cool, and I'm so incredibly excited for it. And there we have it. That is part one to the many interpretations of T-Rex. We only talked about movies and TV shows, and that was already such a huge portion of it. For sake of my sanity and to try to give like some of these different depictions a little bit more of a spotlight, this will be split into two videos. As I mentioned, Next time we will be talking about documentaries and video games and kind of wrapping it up like that. I guarantee that I didn't include every single one. There's just so many out there that I will almost definitely miss some, but I did include as many as I possibly could. It took me a while to do a lot of this research, and I hope that I included enough, basically, to be considered a decent video. Anyway, thank you guys so much for 10,000 subscribers. Like, that seriously does mean a lot to me. I'm so happy to be doing videos like this where I just get to kind of geek out for a little bit about certain design choices on different dinosaurs and just talk about it essentially. Like, that's why I really like doing these videos. It's just basically me just talking to you guys about these amazing dinosaurs and their designs and media. So anyway, part 2 will be coming out very soon. I really hope that you guys did enjoy this one. I had a lot of fun making it, but thank you guys so much for watching and have an awesome day.